back and forth of brainstorming, and probably go before identify problems or add a column, waiting at the symptoms of a problem. And because we find that out by back and forth, then we can able to find solutions. It's not easy, but it's possible. Back to the subject matter. Today, we want to talk about the anti-corruption boss, and I say I want to create a thumbnail. What's in the thumbnail? Famula, we know say this man is a young man, very young man, and I believe say a day in the late 30s, where you want to put something cleverly, which means, and in my mind, a day between 37 and 38. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be wrong there with this sort of guess what I make. So he's a pretty young man occupying a significant position, a very significant position. And by the way, I must say this. For many months now, I've been having a problem with my right eye. Did an operation or surgery, you will call it. Things went all right, pear-shaped. And for many months, I've been struggling with it. But it seems like the thrill is coming back. The feel is coming back. Where probably I might not be needing my glasses. So tonight, maybe I might be putting it on and off. Or it's just to test, but I'm beginning to feel comfortable without my glasses because the right eye is coming back. So yeah, anyway, on a lot of shape, this is the thumbnail. So back in 2018, we know say government changed hands. This is no secret. This is a fact. And when they change hands, the current president will end up for win the election, bring in a own crop of players. Normally, it can be contentious. Then people can begin trade accusations. But of course, it need a own team for can work for him because it need people where he believes say he can trust and deliver for him. So he bring a own crop of teams. But when you bring your crop of team, there is a way how it is done, because if it is too much to the extreme, then people can begin for trade accusations. So anyway, one of the key figures that when the president bring when at the center of this discussion here tonight is none other than the anti-corruption commissioner, Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala. Now, this is a significant position. I will not go into it because of time constraint and because of an understanding. It's not a new entity. It's an entity that, if not every one of us, but I believe the large body of us, where they follow the news, social media, mainstream media, we are kind of familiar with. He became the boss of the ACC. The ACC, the Anti-Corruption Commission, is a very significant component of the arm of government in terms of that area also it operate for head-fed corruption. And we know say corruption as something like a pandemic now with society. And it's not a new phenomena. It is a phenomena, but not a new phenomena. It's a phenomena which I go therefore say we do understand well, because the same players yesterday, today, they are the same players that are very corrupt. Why do I say this? Because we get the ruling class. However, back to the subject matter, on June, sometime in June, I believe between the 16, 17, and 18, by virtue of the pleasure of the president, they feel comfortable in appointing Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala, Esquire, for serve as the nation's anti-corruption boss, the top corruption czar. Remember, in a very corrupt country, and what I want for we keep back in mind is in the context of what we talk about, or the bigger scheme of things, corruption. Now, one of the flagship program of FETAM of this particular administration. So, who are you the appointment for be at the top of this? Again, for be your point man. If now what you fet, you can call on the point man, the guard man. Now the signal went for move forward and went for wait in a tactical formation, if you know what I mean. So anyway, it pleased the president back then in June for appoint Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala Esquire, pending, of course, these are formalities, but pending the approval of the Sierra Leonean parliament. But of course, that was forwarded to the Sierra Leonean parliament, where the president make the appointment letter, that this na the man who I don't decide for can lead me fet against corruption. So I will be sending him over. And he was sent over to Parliament. And of course, the normal exercise went. And there were a few questions here and there. There were holdbacks which looked like a playwright, a sort of scene. But in the end, the president will prevail. His corruption boss was appointed despite the clouds hanging over Mr. Ben Kaifala, whether the process in itself in the first place not be a legal process, whether the process be legal, and secondly, whether the man himself meets the qualification relevant for the occupation of the corruption boss. So there were questions around this. Again, for the benefit time, we might do this on Sunday because there's going to be a part 2. Maybe we'll go dwell on that a little bit. The concentration here, Fambulem, is, in the end, Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala became the youngest ACC boss ever. This was a monumental task. It's a monumental achievement, and it's gone down in the history books. No one can take that away from Mr. Ben Kaifala. But here are the things. Like I say, I've been want to create a thumbprint moment. And here's the thumbprint moment. Education-wise, from waiting we know, because we've seen the records, the undergrad is there, the postgrad is there, and I'm hearing that they're working towards a doctorate. Not sure about that, but definitely the undergrad is there and the postgrad is there, and in different cities or different countries. Like, for example, he attended school here in the United Kingdom. And I think part of his, undergrad or pro or postgrad was done at the Queen St. Mary's. Okay, that's on the record, and this is on public record. And I think he did his postgrad, Yasuna England St. Mary's, on the restructuring of the foreign sovereign fund, because I read on that a little bit. But however, which I try to say is, the current attorney, ACC boss, is an educated man. By every stretch of the English language, he is. There are documents to prove for it. That's why people ever not educate to that level. You get for understand where person they educate to that level. Now them peers them now and they talk with. Okay. And when you try for way in, if you're not up to that capacity, you get for be careful and do your homework well. And not try for can't compete, because he can only compete largely with his peers, because when they talk about things, when they make a proposal or they submit a theory, it's going to be his contemporaries who are largely, they're going to be taking in people that he wants to listen to. However, the point I'm trying to make is Mr. Francis Ben Kaifala is quite an educated man, and he went through all of these processes and getting qualification there. And some of them qualifications there now in the use for make the anti-corruption boss. But the qualifications in themselves are different from that of the processes and procedures making you to become the leader of this organization, as you eventually became. So hence, part of the issues were contentious. But along this man in young life, remember, he's a very young man, he don't head a farm, because I think he's a partner in a farm. I've forgotten the name of the farm. I think something Kane and Co. He is a partner in the farm. But I want to play a tip, okay? Because I'm going to fast track this, because I want to let we make this program under 1 hour, because there's so much for say. The point about the tip is, despite all these accomplishments, remember, you can be dope. You can be the top man now your class, your university class. You graduate, now your undergrad with summa cum laude, whichever way you want for column. It's probably people within those academic spheres, or what eventually you went on to become, we will recognize them things than they, but the vast majority of the people, and especially in a society where the illiteracy rate is so high, that's not what they're looking at. They are looking at bread and butter. The point I'm trying to make, Fambulem, is that therefore, you are not significant in their lives because you're not impacting their lives, and people are interested in their lives being impacted. That's what they are interested in. So therefore, Mr. Ben Kaifala was not really applicable to the vast majority of Sierra Leoneans. In other words, he wasn't a house name, despite serving as a spokesperson for many other things, within organizations, but was only relevant within those organizations and their immediate surrounding. The thing what I did try for submit or propose now today is there was something that catapulted Mr. Ben Kaifala to the national psyche in the minds of the people. We make people and begin for listen. And this was largely political. Political in the sense that when he finally decided to do what he do, he was so right. But I want to play the tape. I think the tape is about, how would you call it? I think it's 3 minutes long. Let's be honest about that. I think it's about 3 minutes long. But when you go into RAM, for some reason, it's been doctored. I don't mean doctored in a negative sense, because probably Osabi pulled the tape from. That's what people wanted to hear. So then kind of remove the rest of the time on the tape. So let me get the tape anyway, because I want to follow on analyzer. So it was a 2 minutes and 47-second tape, but we only get 44 seconds of that tape. Here's the tape. Listen, ladies and